You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the Two and Out CFL podcast.
He's got it! Oh, baby!
Every week, Travis Currah.
That's Grey Cup me, which is a different person.
And Brazilian Ty.
Hunters are people too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Oh, nearly intercepted, and it's over!
Ready, set, hunt!
Hey, thanks for pressing play on this episode of the Two and Out CFL podcast with Travis Currah and Brazilian Ty. Man, I'm fresh off after a night at the Calgary Stampede. A foot-long bacon-wrapped pizza hot dog.
I'm in.
Oh, baby. It was good, too.
That's better than everything they mentioned on the halftime panel.
What did they mention?
Ottawa game. Well, they mentioned like the Texas barbecue versus poutine.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Which, I mean, poutine's gross anyway, and I would take fair food over barbecue any day of the week.
Yeah, that Stampede midway was wow. What?
And especially after the weather they got.
Yeah, so I didn't know what happened with the weather.
You were in the worst building in professional sports.
the marathon wrestling show at the Saddle Dome, and I come out and everything's soaking wet. And then I saw the pictures of the Chucks.
Oh, man. Well, so Chance Vegan got absolutely screwed this year. So he goes 6 of 6 at Ponoka, wins all 6-day monies and the dash. Ross Knight goes out last night. He's back by 3, just under 4 seconds to get to the dash for cash for tonight.
Yeah.
He goes out in heat 4. Skies open up. Chance Vegan's in heat 9.
Oh, no.
He's 4 seconds slower than Ross Knight.
Wow.
And that piece of crap from St. Walburg gets into the dash instead of Chance Vegan. So we're cheering for Kurt tonight. We're cheering for the Duke of Dewberry.
The Duke of Dewberry. The Calgary Stampede Chuck Wagons, man, the greatest outdoor show on earth. And hey,
it's 100 years of Chucks.
100 years.
Well, it's really only 90. It should only be 98.
Oh,
because they missed 2 years.
Yeah.
But it is the 100th. It started in 1923.
Right. Cool. Now, week 6 in the CFL.
Buckle up.
This is insane. Like, we could actually probably do 45 minutes on each game if we wanted to, but let's try to get through this the best we can. Hamilton beats Edmonton 37-29. So the Elks have a 20-game home losing streak.
And then have a chance to win, and then just throw the toaster in the bathtub.
and that's the thing. And look, I think we both agree. And look, the Elks have very young players. They have inexperienced players, but they've also got talent and they've got the horses to win. But I think what's holding them back is some of these just implosions. Like even the defense. You look against Saskatchewan, they hold them all game and then they implode at the end. Look, credit to Trevor Harris.
Implosion. It's one touchdown. Points. It's one touchdown and terrible coaching.
They gave up 12 points. It's like they'll be consistent, and they just give up the big play. And I think that's what happened here against Hamilton, the defense anyway. The offense was playing much better, and they themselves, with Taylor Cornelius, has implosions of themselves. Like, it is absolutely wild. So the Elks are leading, and then it all kind of changed when they had a chance to go up 10-0. And Taylor Cornelius hits Maurice French right in the chest, and the ball hits the ground. So while Cornelius may not be the most accurate quarterback in the league, there are lots of instances in this game and throughout the season where he's not getting much help, man.
No, and that comes with experience too. Like on the receivers end of the football, where you don't want to catch the ball with your body because you don't want it bouncing around. You want to catch it out front with your hands. It's just one of those things where guys, I don't know if they get. It's not comfortable. It's almost like gripping the stick too tight in hockey or squeezing the bat too tight. They're just not. They just haven't had the reps. They don't have the experience. They don't have that clutch. Like they haven't been in those situations yet, and that'll come. It's just how long of a leash are these guys going to have before Chris Jones just cuts bait and finds somebody else?
Well, and I guess that's the thing. How long of a leash does the team have? Because it's into territory where it's record-setting losing
It's literally
streaks.
tied.
Yes, like world record professional sports.
Does Baltimore need another football team? Because they could move to Baltimore, much like Cleveland did.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, they tied a baseball team. They got a
From the 50s.
75 home games in a year. Back then, I think they played
154. Yeah.
So it's a little bit easier to lose 20 in a row.
Not really, though.
Well, this one stretches to October of 2019. So we're coming up on 4 years since a win.
One of those years without football.
Yeah, I know. But even if
still,
it was
it's still
3
4
years
since they've seen it. Yeah, that doesn't make it much better.
It's just brutal. So Cornelius hits French in the chest. And then Cornelius gets sacked and they kick the field goal. So they're up 6-0 instead of 10 or 9 or whatever.
And speaking of that sack, coming into this week, there was only one drive that resulted in a touchdown after a quarterback sack out of like over 90.
Yeah, which is
actually, it shows you just how much it kills a drive.
I'd like to see maybe even the stats, like if you take a holding penalty on a drive, like how many of those get.
But you're not losing the
touchdowns.
Down though, too, right? So
that's true.
It'd be a little bit different.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure it'd be a little bit better, but
yeah,
I don't know how much better.
Yeah.
Now I have here.
Well, then here comes the implosion from the Elks defense, right? Matt Schultz completes a pass to Tim White for 54 yards. And then they also get the roughing the passer penalty on that play too. Next play, it is touchdown James Butler, and the Ticats take the lead 7-6, and it just gets bad to worse for the Elks. They continue to have some success moving the ball. Well, and then he throws the ball a little bit behind Stephen Dunbar. But here's the thing. If Dunbar doesn't get his hands on it, it probably doesn't get picked.
Yeah. At that point, like it's hard for a receiver to knock a ball down.
Yeah, it's a tough catch to make, too.
And he didn't tip. It didn't tip up.
Right.
Like, unlike Glenn Suter said it did. Like, it went down, but still. Like,
slowed it down.
It slowed it down. It went right to the defender. Like, it's just everything just lined up perfectly in that moment.
Yeah. So then the Ticats take advantage of that, and they take a 10-6 lead. But Edmonton comes out in the third quarter, and it looks like they're back on the horse. They have that big touchdown, 54 yards to Kyron Moore. What a great speedy play he made. And this is where things just completely fall apart for the Elks, because the Ticats end up scoring 24 unanswered points. They just couldn't respond after that touchdown. The defense couldn't keep up the momentum, and Matt Schultz takes the team the length of the field, and he ends up finishing the drive with a 4-yard touchdown of his own. And then the very next drive, to quote Dustin Nielsen, what is happening?
If you were wondering if Taylor Cornelius could throw with his left hand, he can't.
And that's it. They're down by 3.
Yeah.
And he's
very much in it.
Yes. He gets sacked. And in the process of getting sacked, he
doesn't get sacked, though.
Well, that's true. He switches. He wishes he got sacked.
Yep.
He switches to his left hand, throws the ball. Katsatonis takes it to the house, and now,
what a name!
Great name. Suddenly, the Ticats are up 11. Ty.
Yeah, it's Dustin Nielsen. The last 2 weeks has gotten the best games to call, because they're just absolute shows.
And then the Elks stall here. Suddenly the success they were having, it's like that one play just, and I
deflated them. Like, it just killed them.
Can't blame them either.
Yeah. And Cornelius, how much confidence can this kid have after getting pulled in a game and then doesn't get to start the next one? Then he's put back in, and then he gets pulled here in this game. It's like, you're either letting them work through this or like your season's done.
Yeah.
You're not, you're 0-5 or 0-6, sorry. Or no, 0-5 because they had a bye.
Yeah.
Your season's over. Just let him go through it and see what he is. And if it's not it, find somebody else.
Right.
Or find somebody now and go with that.
Yeah.
But just flipping back and forth, all you're doing is ruining his confidence and possibly his career, because it's going to be ruined if he goes somewhere else, or he might not even get a chance to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's true.
Which, I mean, could be Chris Jones's plan too. Like, if he ain't going to play for us, he ain't playing for anybody. So you don't want him to come back and bite him in the ass. And Chris Jones does seem that petty.
The next score ended up being a Ticats field goal, and then we got a drive here from the Elks that ended up losing 31 yards.
That did not result in
penalties and stuff. And then the very next drive, Matthew Schultz gets hurt, and it didn't look good.
No.
At least the pain he was in, and which is now the Ticats down to their third option at quarterback. But that didn't slow him down, because Taylor Powell ends up hitting Tim White for a 17-yard touchdown, a beautiful throw of his own.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that, the Elks couldn't even take advantage of that. Like, I don't want to say that you go take advantage of the, backup quarterback, but they give up a 17-yard touchdown.
He's the third stringer for a reason.
So,
and a backup in this game for a reason.
New to the CFL, maybe the Ticats are okay with Taylor Powell.
Yeah.
But here's
I love how you didn't even say a word that you just wheezed through the last half of a sentence.
But you knew what I meant.
I knew exactly. I picked it up. I got it. Like, I'm combating what you're swathing.
And so at this point, the Elks are down 21 touchdowns, or 21 points. Sorry.
I mean, they might be down 21 touchdowns.
They might be.
Point differential on the year.
But I feel like there needs to be some credit. They didn't fold. Like, they could have just packed it up. Mm-hmm. And maybe the Ticats did. But Seth,
are you worried if you're the Ticats at Edmonton's coming back?
Well, the same thing kind of happened for them against Ottawa, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really an inspiring win.
No.
Jarrett Dagey comes in. The guy's a warrior. He got smashed a few times, and kind of like against Toronto, where he just brings the Elks back into the game. The very next drive, it's a Kevin Brown touchdown. And the Ticats do catch, they score another field goal after that. But Dagey ends up leading them down the field again. They score a touchdown, an 8-play, 88-yard drive with a minute to go.
Didn't throw a pick.
Yeah, 37-25 Hamilton. They recover the onside kick.
Take a dumb penalty.
Yeah, that's the theme for the season too. That unnecessary roughness that Morgan ended up taking there and kicked out of the game.
And kicked out.
So then it's 37-29. They can't get the onside kick again. But man, it's just those implosions. Like, the Elks kind of hang around, and it's just this spectacular comedy of errors somehow that combine to make things look terrible.
They are the Durham Bulls. They are the Keystone Cops. They are the Charleston Chiefs. Like, we saw it with Chicago years ago. You got to learn how to lose before you can learn how to win. They lost, I think, 2 straight West Finals, and they ended up winning the Cup the next year. At some point, you learn how to lose. You get real good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And you never learn how to win. And that just seems like what the Elks are doing right now. Like, they're so good at shooting themselves in the foot and choking away games that they have had chances to win, that they just don't know how to turn it around when they have a chance to win a football game.
So you look at the Ticats penalties and you think, ooh, 10 for 104.
And that's not even the worst of the week.
Well, you look at Edmonton's, 13 for 179 yards.
That's the worst of the week.
281 yards, 282 yards in penalties, 83 yards. I got it wrong twice in this game. Like, what is happening? And you feel bad. Like, I just think it's become a spectacle now. It's like, really, can they lose another home game?
I never want them to win a home game again. Like just for the comedic value of it.
It's kind of crazy how I found there was a lot of chatter and buzz going into this game. It's like, will Edmonton tie the pro sport? And and I know there wasn't many people in the stands at this point.
I don't blame them.
Are we going to blame people for not going to watch that? No. Like, what are you going to do? They haven't won a home game since before the world changed. This is crazy. So I think it's a big picture conversation for the Elks now. But it was reported.
That Quee interview changed everything.
Exactly. It was reported that Jones was on 4 sort of 1-year deals.
4-year deal with options.
Yes.
At the end of each year.
But all of a sudden, the Quee post-game interview says, no, it's a 4-year deal. And if we fire him now...
That's the third worst contract in Edmonton history.
They're paying him for 2.5 more years. But here's the thing. This year, they're still paying Brock Sunderland.
Mm-hmm.
So even if there was no coach's cap, do they want to be paying 3 guys at once?
They don't have an owner, but like they have a board to answer to, which makes it even harder for a community-owned team.
Yeah.
To fork over that much cash. It'd be different if, this was the year after winning a Grey Cup.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be okay. Well, the chatter wouldn't be there. You have that grace period, but it's been since 2015, and it hasn't been great. And now it's going to end up being scorched earth at some point. And I don't know what you do. At this point, you have to let Chris Jones finish out this contract.
I think so too. And here's the thing: Taylor Cornelius has $100K in guaranteed money in 2024. Ty.
Mm-hmm. It's only $100K though. Like it's not my rally money.
And they were so worried, I think, that he was going to get poached by the XFL, and they would have nobody going into this year and next season. And
they would have had to bring Arbuckle back or something.
He got 4 wins in his career, all on the road, I know. But
which, I mean, those aren't easy wins to come by.
No, they're not.
On the road, especially.
No, they absolutely aren't. So even the protection in this game was better from the offensive line. Like, it just was. Kevin Brown had over 7 yards of carry. Like, I don't know what they do, right? It just feels like they're being forced to stay the course. And I realize the coach's cap has its flaws, but it's not all to blame here. Because like I said, the Elks don't want to be
They wouldn't want to be forking that much money over for guys that aren't there anymore.
Exactly. It is a sad situation.
In the NFL, they don't care because they have the license to print money.
Yeah.
But this isn't that.
Yeah. But now we look at the schedule and look, there are 12 games to go for the Elks. I know that.
Like it's free money. Like it is free money to take them to lose every week.
Although
until the
RedBlacks down 16 to the Bombers inside 3 minutes.
We don't need to talk about it.
So maybe the Bombers are not a lock. Okay, they're a lock to beat Edmonton in Edmonton.
Yeah,
but
anything could happen at
they
IG,
host
IG
the
Field.
Elks at IG Field this week. But then the next 2 games, BC in Edmonton and then Winnipeg in Edmonton.
They might get one.
They might. But if they don't, I think they're going to beat the Riders September 15th.
Because that's your typical late season Riders coming off Labor Day in the Banjo Bowl, beat up, tired, either out of it or in a playoff, like fighting for a playoff spot, but haven't really clinched anything. Playing down a level of their opponent, losing by a late field goal.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that they are going to go 0-18, but I'm looking at it now. Like, when are they going to win a home game?
Yeah.
So BC comes to town, Winnipeg comes to town, and then it's
When,
Ottawa.
I mean, when I think
I don't know.
Winnipeg is obviously beat. Man, Winnipeg might be the bet.
Like, imagine that celebration. Imagine that celebration. Congrats to the Ticats.
It's like an old Abco Cup.
Yeah. I think now we're going to probably be paying attention to, we'll see what Taylor Powell does, Eastern Michigan. I think there were 3 guys from that school in this game. He only had 4 attempted passes. One of them was a beautiful touchdown pass, but look at James Butler. 14 carries, 127 yards, over 9 yards a carry. There's another reason why the Elks lost.
Rushing touchdown, 3 catches for 40 yards. Like, he was all over the place.
Getting Tyreek McAllister involved, the Ticats, for a second week in a row, 3 carries, 14 yards. He also had a catch for 35 yards, involved in the return game as well. Their leading
don't get points for that.
Yeah, which is
dumb.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Terry Godwin, 4 catches, 61 yards, but Tim White, 71 yards on 2 catches and a touchdown. If you look at the offensive guys for the Elks, I mean, Maurice French, 70 yards. Dylan Mitchell, 68 yards. Stephen Dunbar, 72 yards, a touchdown. Kyron Moore, a 101-yard game with the touchdown. So they had some offensive success. They didn't fold, and I think there's credit to them there. Jones is sometimes they'll look deflated, but maybe it's the fire. There was a roughing the passer called on Edmonton that really, I think the D lineman it's football, falling with his weight on the quarterback.
It's the whole driving him into the ground, landing on him with your entire body weight, because you can do a lot of damage. They brought that rule in because they would wrap tackle, make that part good, and then just make sure to fall on them. And a lot of guys, and especially if an arm gets trapped or up like this, like on a throwing, like that can cause a lot of damage. And it's been since 2019, I think this rule has been there. Like, there's no reason that guys should still be doing it.
And QBs, if they want to make the proper throws, they're pretty vulnerable to stuff like this. So the Ticats leave Edmonton with a win, and the Elks continue to search for answers as they have already returned to practice. Geno Lewis was running around out there, so I mean, that is pretty good to see there. And then things get real exciting, because after that game, it was all doom and gloom. And I think this is the craziest thing about the Canadian Football League. How many Grey Cups, since we started this show in 2015, go into the game with so much negativity? The league's struggling, nobody's watching, all this garbage. And then the Grey Cup ends up being this insane game, block kicks left and right, returns left and right. The weather's bad. There's still 100 and some yard fumble return. Like
2015 was a 1-point game.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden we're like
the only real blowout has been Winnipeg in Calgary against Hamilton.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like this, and there was a great story there because the Bombers hadn't won in almost 30 years.
Neither are the Ticats.
Yeah, true. The thing that saves the CFL is the game. It's nothing else around it. It's the game. And we're struggling finding quarterbacks. I know that. But then we have these next 3 games in week 6, and it's like, it's almost anybody you put into this CFL game can create exciting moments on the field that create memories, for the rest of the year. And what a show I think the Argos and the Alouettes put on. The replays on offense, the replays on defense. These are 2 physical teams beating each other up. And even Cody Fajardo looked really good in this one. But I guess
the resurgence of DeVaris Daniels.
Man, that touchdown he caught, or was he down at the 1?
He might have been down at the 1.
Early in the game, takes a massive hit, hangs onto the ball. Like, I guess props to Chad Kelly. He had a really bad interception in this one. I think it was Marc-Antoine Dequoy, who, by the way, I'm a fan of this guy.
Yeah, it wasn't a great decision. No.
Yeah, maybe it's the hair. I don't know if you caught later in the game.
Oh,
It was a short punt, and he's like, "Oh, I better catch the ball." He catches it, gets the no yards, and that's a free 15 yards for his Alouettes. But I think Chad Kelly, he's thrown across his body, and it was the easy interception.
pulling a Jim McMahon.
But I will admit, I was a pretty big doubter of Chad Kelly going into this year.
I wasn't. I knew that they would be 4-0.
Okay, for the first time, the Argos are
1983.
4-0. And my buddy Ian is a big BC Lions fan, which I find
That's the guy that sits
awesome.
behind us with the balloons.
Yes.
And then just lets them go.
We were doing it at the Riders Stabs game. Oh, people were
pissing
loving
people off.
It's the first time since '83 that the Argos are 4-0, and
Won a Grey Cup.
Ian texted in. He said it was his first
Oh no.
Grey Cup game.
Okay.
The Argos beating the Lions 18-17. He says he doesn't believe he's recovered from that Grey Cup 40 years.
That checks out. He is a damaged man.
Poor Ian. Oh, sorry about that tough loss in 83.
So when they came up with that 3-0 stat, it was 1991, won a Grey Cup. 4-0, 1983, won the Grey Cup.
Man.
Like, how far back do we got to go for 5-0?
Like, does Chad Kelly finish last year's Grey Cup and just pick up where he left off all the way to November? Like, this is, and some of the throws he's making,
Doug Flutie 2.0.
he actually looks like there's zero effort. Like he flicks the wrist and it's a 57.
Like Patrick Mahomes.
It's like, what is going on with this guy?
Yeah.
It's impressive to watch. It looks like, on the other hand, when Montreal makes plays, there's a little bit more effort.
It's like they have to, they've really got to put 100% in, because if they don't, they're not making anything happen.
Like, because they're still unable to get William Stanback going. He had 4.
This was the best game he's had.
Yeah. And they tried. They really tried to establish the run. And I know we kind of harp on it. Why give up with the run? But this one, it just really wasn't happening. And
kind of like Winnipeg.
Yeah. Yeah. 12 carries, 53 yards for William Stanback. And I think this is what we saw from Jason Moss in Saskatchewan. But maybe it's drawn up differently, or the Alouettes receivers are just a lot better at it. Those little screens off to the sideline, they kind of treat that as their running game. But when those receivers catch it in stride, they're already at full speed and they turn up the field really fast. Those Alouettes receivers are good when they get the ball in their hands. So that kind of becomes their running game in this one. Yeah,
like an extension. It's almost like a stretch play. The one thing that I don't like about it, though, is that you can do it too much.
Yeah.
And we've seen it.
Yeah.
Like, it was a 2018 Labor Day. You knew that play coming out of the huddle. You saw the DB line up in press coverage, jump it, pick 6. Right. Teams are going to start to recognize it the more and more they do it. But if you can get guys in motion and throw it different areas, different spots, different depths, like, just over the line of scrimmage, behind, stuff like that, and change it up enough, then you can have success with it. But like, it just sucks that you have one of the best running backs and you just can't use them.
Yeah.
And it hurts the fantasy game too.
It does. It's clear the Argos' defensive strategy in this one was to focus on number 81, Austin Mack.
Which is fair.
And what a battle it was to watch all game between him and Jamal Peters. Peters ended up taking a penalty, and they were all over Mack, and he still got himself 7 catches for 70 yards and had himself a pretty good game. All things considered, he did a deep play got broken up, and also the touchdown got broken up from Austin Mack. He could have had a lot better game, but the Alouettes definitely played that into their hands by hitting Tyler Snead for 3 touchdowns.
Not once, not twice, but thrice.
Including one where it was 2013 Argos. Cody Fajardo breaks off 2 tackles, hits him in the, like, that isn't.
I thought he was sacked. I thought the game was over.
Oh yeah. So
because I had Argos -6, so I was sweating this one out.
So I mean, the first half it was a good game to watch. It was a physical game to watch. It was 10-7 Alouettes at halftime, but then the Argos had themselves a good third quarter, outscoring the Alouettes 13-3, and then the fourth quarter, it's like both QBs just turn things on, and what an entertaining end to that game. In Montreal, like those fans were treated to a pretty darn good game there, and great quarterback play. Cody Fajardo, he's looking good. I mean, he got sacked another 7 times?
4.
Oh yeah, only 4 times.
7 was the Rider game.
Yeah, that's true. he got 4 for 21, but
he's on pace for 93.6 now. So they have improved.
They have improved the pace for the sacks there. I think what was really surprising me about Toronto, and there was also a matchup that Toronto was exploding, Ento for the Alouettes. It's like wherever he was on the field, that's where the Argos were going to go with their big plays, and it worked. Ento got burned a lot in this one. Alouette fans noticing that.
He's the East
from him.
Nick Marshall.
Yeah, he was biting on some plays, and the Argos are going over the top, and it's a big play the other way. So there were some matchups both teams were exploiting in this one. Yeah, at the end of the game there, it's 27-27. Would you look at that? Chad Kelly takes them the other way. And David Ungerer, who you thought you had in your lineup.
I was so pumped when he caught that touchdown. I'm like, I am going to break 100 points for the first time this year. I'm going to shove it in Currah's face. Like, I'm back, baby. And I look and I have Mark and Michelle.
Oh,
and I was distraught. But I had the Argos -6. I needed them to score that touchdown.
Oh, and I didn't even mention DeMonte Coxie. 4 catches, 72 yards, and the touchdown that put them ahead in the fourth quarter.
For one time anyway.
Yeah, for one time. I think it was the 27-20 score. Yeah. The outstretched arm bringing that ball in.
Oh my God! Come off it. That play was ridiculous.
It was. Well, and he also made a great catch early in the game too. So that was incredible. But if you look at how many times Ento was in coverage on this thing, oh boy.
Yeah, it's not a great look. That's not a film you want to be sending around when you become a free agent.
Beatty ends up missing a field goal. So the Owls did have a chance here. But Cody Fajardo does get intercepted. That was the Hail Mary at the very end of the game.
Like his first interception was like in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Pretty inconsequential.
Yeah.
And then this one, you don't have you have to go for the end zone. It's the last play of the game, so it's either picked off or it's caught.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't put that one on him at all.
Props to the Argos, 477 net yards in offense, but they kind of let Montreal hang around because of their own doing, right? The Argos 15 penalties for 157 yards, where the Alouettes played clean football on the other hand. 4 penalties for 35 yards. The Alouettes' big downfall was their being in second and long all night, and they were struggling converting those second downs, and the big plays. Yeah, and that was the difference in the game here. But what a fun game to watch in Montreal. Chad Kelly versus Cody Fajardo. Look, the Argos, we've talked about it, 4-0. They look poised to win that Eastern Division. And actually, so far, I think it was Dave Naylor that posted this on Twitter. The East Division has a better collective record than the West right now.
Thanks, Edmonton.
Yeah, they're helping everybody. That's a complete flip from what it feels like the last half decade or so.
Yeah. Do you remember 2 years ago when I went on that heater?
Yep.
In November and December? I think I'm back. I'm back.
You're doing good?
That Toronto game.
Bombers screwed you up, though?
I think that kickstarted it. Well, last night was a little rough. But I'm still at the table. Friday night now. Friday night was a $700 profit night.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
You're doing good.
So don't leave the table on the heater. Did I cash out? No. Did I wait for Thursday to make golf bets? No. I bet on 5 baseball games today.
Wow.
Lost 2 of them already.
I think you're just providing evidence that the heater's over.
No, because the Jays won.
Okay.
So I still got 2 games left. I go 3-2 today, and it's still a winning record.
Chad Kelly, 21-25, 84% completion percentage, 351 yards passing. But that AJ Ouellette, an absolute monster, 14 for 95, including
second best mullet in the country.
Yeah. Who's number 1? You? Including a 42-yard rumble. Curly Gittens Jr. had a big play, a 42-yarder. He had 56 yards receiving. Ungerer, 4 for 4, 72 yards, and 2 TDs. Coxie had
23.2 points.
A monster. And Devaris Daniels had 91 yards receiving. As for Montreal, Cody Fajardo, 26 of 36, 281 yards, 3 TDs, 2 picks. Their leading receiver was Austin Mack, who had the 70 yards. Keon Julian Grant had 64 yards. And maybe, I don't know, is this
Tyler Snead with 48 yards, though, and 3 touchdowns, 25.8 points. Like, lit it up. 100% catch rate. Like, I'm off it.
Even Courtney Davis had himself 44 yards in this one. So some more guys starting to establish themselves in that Alouette offense. And now buckle up, for this will probably be the best doubleheader of the season.
Or the worst, depending on your decisions.
The Ottawa RedBlacks beating the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 31-28 in overtime. Here's the deal.
They were down 25-9 with 3 minutes left.
Exactly. It felt like, I feel like we can kind of skip everything 57 minutes of this game.
Like the pick 6, they score, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. Winnipeg's gonna get the ball back, they're gonna run it out.
Yeah.
Ottawa will get the ball with 10 seconds left. Who cares?
Yeah.
And then I get the coaching decision, but I don't.
Because it's 18-3 at halftime for Winnipeg. Kind of what we expected, really.
Mm-hmm.
The Bombers were feeding it to Brady Oliveira, who did nothing. 9 carries, 16 yards. The CFL's leading rusher shut down by that RedBlacks defense, who seemed to get
every now
stronger.
and then McDavid has a 0-point night.
That's true. Every now and then.
Yeah, like every 20 games.
Normally a defense gets worn out as the game goes on.
They got stronger.
Yes. It was crazy to see. Like the working together as a unit. It was about the 4th quarter where, the Bombers got shut out. We know that. And it was last year and the year before, and maybe even the year before that.
4th quarter is they would destroy teams.
Exactly. Like, we didn't see this before. There were times when they're trying to hand the ball off in the backfield and the D linemen, the defenders, were already there.
Yeah.
It was like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Oakland Raiders Super Bowl. Like,
when your center goes MIA for 24 hours the day before the game, you have no idea where he is.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
No. And the Tampa Bay head coach knows your entire playbook.
No, Brady Oliveira, he did have 93 yards receiving. So that 63-yard play really helped out his fantasy night if you had him there. It kind of seemed like maybe the Bombers were missing Janarian Grant. I know that Greg McRae, he's a burner, but part of returning is also that sure-handedness of being able to field the ball. And it didn't always feel it was as sure of a thing without Janarian Grant back there. So it's 25-9. Inside the 3-minute warning. Now, I knew the score of this one before watching it. As I'm watching, I'm like, when's this going to happen?
When does this happen? Yeah.
So
it's wild.
The RedBlacks
Both these games were wild near the end.
The RedBlacks score a field goal in the second quarter, in the third quarter, and then they put up 19 in the fourth, and 16 of those inside of 3 minutes, because their offense really wasn't able to get going much in this one. It didn't feel, well, sometimes those Bomber defenders, they timed the snap, and I don't know if it was because it was a young quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They timed those snap. Willie Jefferson, he's got 7 sacks on the year now.
That's also something you talk about as the defensive player nominee coming out of the West.
Yeah, he is back. Like last year, and maybe it's because Jeffcoat has been back more often. Their D tackles are a bit stronger, but
and they're lining Jefferson up at D tackle on the same side as Jeffcoat. Like, what are you supposed to do as a guard?
Yep.
You're not used to seeing that kind of that kind of size and athleticism coming at you.
When and you've heard it before. Everybody's heard it before, where Jefferson, he had himself a sack in this one. He had a knockdown when
I think you talk about the knockdowns too with Winnipeg.
I think he's 5 knockdowns and 7 sacks. Like, who does
he had
that?
4. He had 4 coming in.
Yeah, and he had 1 in this one.
One behind the team. 1 behind the team lead. This team is on pace to set the record
for
past knockdowns.
Wow, that's interesting.
And then you have Houston with, was that his 4th pick or 6th pick? 4th pick to go along with the forced fumbles and the fumble recoveries. You have Betts in BC with the sacks. Like, that defensive player nominee is becoming very crowded.
It is.
Because you can only pick one. And nobody from Edmonton is even getting looked at. Unless Serezna goes off.
That's very true. Adam Bighill 2 sacks.
Isn't Micah Awe leading the league in tackles?
He's been monstrous too. There were a few times when Adam Bighill had a free shot at the quarterback. Like, I felt like the turning point. This was kind of a funny moment in the game where it's short yardage for Ottawa, and Willie Jefferson, he dives and is offside, and the whole stadium sees it. And it was even he was laughing about it.
Like, what are you supposed to do?
But then it was like Willie's laughing and laid back, and then all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, it's, what happened?
Yeah.
What a phenomenal end to that game, because it's inside the 3 minutes, and you did mention it. Zach Collaros, he throws the pick 6, and then all of a sudden that defense is fired up again, because when
that secondary for Ottawa, like, they got playmakers back there, and I think it gets slept on a little bit.
I think the whole defense is getting slept on, because Noel Thorpe has that unit working together.
Yeah, that defensive line with Malden and I don't want to pronounce. No, I don't even want to try to pronounce the name. But like it's obviously Samoan.
Like
Ty Eli or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, those guys last night just seemed like world beaters.
Yeah, even Wakefield was back there.
Wakefield was all over the place too. Like, it's if they can rely on those 3 guys, or that defensive line, those 4 guys, to get pressure and drop 8 back the majority of the time, or maybe spy a little bit, or have the odd blitz every now and then, which they're going to do. You have Dandridge and Abdul Kana back there, just for starters, not including the other 3 guys that have showed up.
Yeah.
And it's not fun throwing against that secondary.
It felt like the entire end of the fourth quarter was on Winnipeg's side of the field. Like, and Ottawa had a few chances on 3rd and goal where they couldn't quite get it until the pick 6. And then they get the ball back with a minute, and it became...
What? So you've run the ball 8 times and gotten 15 yards or 16 yards. So it's 2nd and long. I understand Ottawa doesn't have a timeout. I understand that.
So this is 2nd 7, Winnipeg, 25-17 for the Bombers, a minute 28 to go.
Yeah. So you're going to give Ottawa the ball back with momentum with a minute left? Because you're not trying to get a first down running that ball with Oliveira. You're just trying to kill more clock.
Right. Yep.
Why wouldn't you throw something? You don't even need the first down, but you can throw a little crossing route or a comeback and get closer to a first down. Then you've got 3rd and 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then it makes sense.
Yeah.
And you kill more time. But I didn't like that call.
What about that Nate Behar show that starts with a minute to go? Ottawa gets the ball on their own 16 with a minute to go. He hits Nate Behar for 5 yards. Then he hits Jalen Acklin for 16 yards. Then he hits Behar 7 yards. Behar 7 yards. Hardy 17 yards. Then he hits Behar again 25 yards, and he rushes it in. Now, last week, Dustin Crum tackled on the 2, time expiring, game over.
I thought that was going to happen again. It should have. He was not getting denied again.
Adam Bighill, open field, undresses him, touchdown Crum, and they still needed to get the 2-point.
So who else?
Nate Behar.
Remember when I picked him for most outstanding Canadian 2 years ago?
Well, most outstanding. Well, actually, is Sneed for Montreal a Canadian?
Didn't he play at Montreal? Isn't he a Carabin?
Oh, no, he went to school East Carolina.
Oh, they're purple though. Gross. I think they're purple and gold, much like the Barons. But it's just a terrible color combination.
David Ungerer is he's got the Canadian status. Mm-hmm. So he had the big game for the Argos, and then here Nate Behar, the big game for the RedBlacks.
Nate Behar had 2 2-point conversions.
Yeah, he did. Like it started, I think, last year. They just started trusting him more and more.
He became that Greg Ellingson, that second down, sure-handed guy.
I think what's kind of crazy, I mean, Crum, he did throw an interception in this one, but for the most part, they kind of protected the ball until overtime, right?
Yeah, but he also threw it 42 times. Like an interception on 42 pass attempts isn't terrible.
Yeah, for a guy making his first career start. So then in overtime, the RedBlacks defense taking all that momentum there. He hits Rashid Bailey for 5 yards, and then Collaros gets sacked by Wakefield. There you go.
Another drive that doesn't end in a touchdown.
Yeah. Field goal. Bombers lead in this game, 28-25. And then it took 2 plays for the RedBlacks
to ruin my Saturday.
Williams has the 6-yard game. Dustin Crum, 29 yards for the walk-off win at TD Place. And man, I almost had tears. I knew what happened. But Bob Dice, when he ran up, like, it felt like a movie. Like, seeing how excited he was. 2 home wins for the Ottawa RedBlacks in a row, and 1 against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Something that I don't think anyone expected, man.
No, Bombers were minus 450, 425 when I took them. And the money was going there, so that would have been worse when it closed. The game, like with 3 minutes left, I was like, okay, on to Saskatchewan and Calgary here. Like my parlay is in good shape. I usually don't parlay, but the odds were just too bad to put. I wasn't putting $425 on Winnipeg to win $100. Thank God I didn't. So I parlayed with the Riders at minus 1.5, so I got screwed there too. But it's just like Winnipeg had this game in hand, and I don't want to say they got out coached, but just I didn't like that run play. That's the only thing I didn't like about that drive.
And these things happen, but Ottawa, and I think the teams are pretty even here because Dustin Crum, I think it was Scarver that they had him wide open on a deep play in the first half and he dropped the ball. Well, in the second half, Dalton Schoen had the ball on his hands and it hit the carpet. It went both ways, so it's not like Ottawa got the deep play and Winnipeg didn't. But if Winnipeg gets that deep play, like we've seen so many times from number 83, that comeback doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And
like, I mean, 3 scores, even a field goal at some point for Winnipeg puts that game out of reach, really.
Yep. It was a perfect storm for the RedBlacks to come back in that one. For the Bombers.
Speaking of the perfect storm, I believe that's the only movie where Mark Wahlberg has died, but he didn't actually die on screen. Like, it just went black, right?
He's just kind of
floating around the water,
kind of thing, yeah.
But yeah, he refuses to die on screen. So he doesn't want his kids to see that. Little fun fact.
Look at Hollywood trivia. We might be watching a lot of older movies and reruns with this strike going on, so it's
well, after the Dash for Cash night, there's like no one doing TV.
Yeah.
I'm watching Seinfeld, and Home Improvement.
Oh, what else do you need? That was pretty good, actually. Zach Collaros, 69% completion percentage.
Oh, nice.
22 of 32, 354 yards, 2 TDs, and a costly interception. Nick Dembski had 79 yards receiving and a touchdown in a pretty tight window, 5 catches for him. Drew Wolodarski, a touchdown for him, 4 catches and 70 yards. But you look at the targets for Mr. Nate Behar, Ty, 14 targets, 10 catches, 87 yards. In a way, that sort of became their running game because they only had
how many of those were over 7 yards?
Yeah, exactly. 8 carries for Devontae Williams, 4.5 yards as he makes his return to the lineup. But it was those 2-point conversions for Mr. Nate Behar. Two of them? Wow.
So the official stat sheet, here we go again. 74 yards for Dustin Crum.
What did he actually have?
On the CFL website, like on the stats, if you go to Game Tracker, 103. That is what the RedBlacks tweeted out that he had was 103. I used 74, so I guarantee you my stats for this entire year are thank you, CFL and Genius Sports.
It's got to be the 74, right?
I think it's 103.
Really?
I believe so.
How are you off by 30 yards?
Because they are terrible at their job. Like, if Ottawa is tweeting that out, I believe the team tweeted out that stat that he had 103. I don't know. I would have to go back and look at it. I would have to go through the play sheet,
and that's
which I'm going to do, obviously, because I'm a loser. And I'm pissed off, but I don't want to have to do it.
That's the thing with the CFL too. Like there's so many things holding it back, and the only thing that's propping it up is the game. And a lot of times they're little things. Well, it feels little. I don't know what's going on with these stats, man.
Every week it seems we get a fifth email.
Yeah.
With a redo. They're
saying it's a quarter of a way through the season. It seems like or we've just passed the quarter mark, but these stat sheets seems to be the most accurate ones. So those are the ones we go off of for the most part. Sometimes
the discrepancy between the stat sheet, the website, and
that's what I can't figure
game.
out. Like, are there two different people?
Where if Genius Sports is doing both, which I thought they were, because aren't they're doing stats for the league? Are they
You'd
not?
think they'd be the same. I know they got stats spotters in every stadium. I don't think those are Genius Sports.
So the fantasy game is getting different numbers and the stat sheets being sent out. Like, it's an absolute dumpster fire right now.
Yeah.
And like, so if it comes out like in 2 weeks, oh yeah, we were wrong, it was 103. Do you go back and change fantasy scores now?
I doubt it. Like, maybe they do, but
it wouldn't surprise me.
Dustin Crum leading the Ottawa RedBlacks And the celebration around him, Bob, like that's Hollywood stuff, man.
And the thing is, it's not like it's a
incredible.
championship game. Like, this is a team that is not playing very well. Like, they got lucky in the last 3 minutes of a football game, right? And that, like, it's like Friday Night Lights,
Yeah.
the movie,
Yeah.
where they don't win at the end.
Right.
Right? They don't win state. Every movie, you win state.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always nice to see, like, you know, just a little bit of a heartbreak.
Mm-hmm. Build on that for the RedBlacks as, man, the 2-3 RedBlacks taking on the 2-3 Stampeders Sunday at McMahon Stadium.
Crossover implications.
That's an intriguing game, man.
And we're in July.
Speaking of those Stampeders, their best offensive game of the season in Regina as they beat the Riders 33-31. And the Stampeders needed their offensive going because while the Riders didn't have...
Still down a point in the season series, though.
They are. Which... This was big for the Riders. If they hung on to win, then they would have had the season series with Edmonton and Calgary. Sheldon bringing that up on Wednesday's show. Like, now it comes down to
have
October.
Those tied down this early in the year would have been huge.
Yeah, kind of like we're used to with these two teams coming down to the end of the year. But I don't know if it's the brother thing, what's going on, but these two teams going to overtime last time they played, and
or
now
3 weeks ago.
Now this time 27 points in the fourth quarter between the two. Going into halftime, the Stamps had a 20-10 lead, and
said lots of football left. We were watching it. We went out for supper to watch it. Yeah, there's lots of football left. I'm mainly just trying to talk myself out of just going home or back to camp because of my bet. I'm like, nah, like they'll come back.
The Rider offense didn't have anything going, man.
No.
Until later in the game. But until the injury, which we'll talk about, there was not much to be celebrated with the Saskatchewan Roughriders offense here. The only thing to be celebrated for Saskatchewan was Super Mario. With those two returns.
Too bad half of it doesn't matter.
I do not understand. Like the new CFL game, I understand they made some changes, whatever.
But why would you take scoring away?
So they still get credited for the yards?
No, just the touchdowns.
No yards, just the touchdowns.
Yep. So there's no point in taking returners.
So Mario Alford has
got 12 points.
184 yards in punt returns.
Which, to be fair, would only be another 8.5 points.
That's still...
Which would put him over 20.
Yeah. But he also had another 53 yards in kick returns. So he had...
Oh, well, it's a point per 25 yards.
237 return yards, two touchdowns.
But it had like 9.3 plus his 12. Like, you're at 21 easily.
Like, let's be real. If there is no return touchdowns from Super Mario, we're not talking about how great this game is because Trevor Harris got hit a lot. And the defensive line for Calgary was on top of him. On that side of the ball, the trench battle went Calgary's way early and often. And Saskatchewan, they didn't have too many answers for that, Ty.
No, and as two guys that watched Cody Fajardo get beat up endlessly last year, and it's happening again to him. As Rider fans, they get Trevor Harris, and we're like, well, he gets the ball up fast. It'll help hide some warts on the offensive line. And through the first couple of weeks, it seemed okay.
But now they've lost some of their projected starters.
And that's, they weren't set up for injury, depth wise, and it's starting to rear its ugly head. And now it's that swinging saloon door again. It feels like, would they have 7 sacks last night?
Yeah.
That's too many. It's too many. And, maybe they need to bring in a guy like Bo Bichette or a guy like Kevin Kiermaier to teach people how to slide. And that might help some other issues that this team has, because that's getting on my nerves too.
Trevor Harris, he's not known as a running quarterback, but at times this year he was kind of forced into being a running quarterback if he wanted to get the yards that needed to be achieved to move the team along and win games and get yards. And he goes for a run in the fourth quarter, and man, just an awkward tackle. And kind of Derek Wiggin, and he feels terrible. They showed him on the TV.
Yeah. But also, if you're Trevor Harris, like,
I know
you can't. You've got to give yourself up.
Man, that's tough to see. And
right after that happened, so one TV had the Rider game, the other TV had UFC. There was a women's match, and a single leg takedown, and she landed with her arm backwards. Remember how Craigness landed at the ski trip in grade 9? Yeah, her elbow went the complete wrong way. So it was like boom, boom, and it was the whole bar was like, oh my god, like they were both just absolutely awful.
I don't know if I've seen an ovation for an injured player like that, like the way the Rider fans were giving it to Harris. He had his face in the towel. He was upset. The whole team huddling around. He gets carted off, and the Rider's already announcing that he has sustained a tibial plateau fracture in his right knee. Do I know what that means? No, but it doesn't sound good.
I looked it up.
Oh, okay.
So he broke it at the top.
Okay.
And so it also, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that he tore, but he damaged the ligaments in his knee as well.
Right.
Because it was so close to plateau to the top,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
So he broke it at the top of the bone, closer to the kneecap, and it damaged the ligaments as well.
Yeah.
So now he's got to heal that. He's got to rehab ligaments, but with time off, like they might heal as well. It just depends on the severity.
Yeah. Well, they said they haven't
ruled out a return,
but they said he's going to undergo surgery. So anytime you have a surgery for anything,
that's going to be.
Yeah.
How has our last year been?
I know. Exactly. Exactly. Of course, we wish the best to Trevor Harris at this stage of his career. It's terrible to see.
That sucks. Yeah. And age does not help the recovery process.
No. And he was playing some of the best football at quarterback in the league. To see another quarterback go down, I understand it's been an issue in the CFL, but when these guys are getting hurt, that doesn't help the process at all. The Riders already announcing that moving forward, Mason Fine will be their starting quarterback, which good on them for getting ahead of the stuff.
Yeah, better than last year.
Yeah, exactly.
But you mentioned quarterbacks. You look at it now. There's 5 starters left from opening day.
Wow.
And so you have Vern Adams, Jake Mayer, Cornelius. I'm not counting them because we don't know what the hell's happening there. Colaros, Kelly, and Fajardo. That's it.
And I think Kelly and Fajardo, there was some trepidation about both of them.
When we're one injury away from losing over 50% of the starters from opening week, and it's week 6.
Absolutely wild. Well, and I don't know, did we count?
And then people on Twitter saying Edmonton should be selling the farm for Dane Evans to do what? Come in and play exactly like Taylor Cornelius is already playing? Because that's what's going to happen.
I'm a Trey Ford guy. I just remember last year all the excitement about Canadian quarterbacks, and Rourke was a big part of it.
Yeah,
but they also had O'Connor in BC, who doesn't have a job right now.
I believe Tommy Stevens is Canadian.
I don't think he is, but you look that up in the meantime. Yeah. Trey Ford.
Maybe I'm thinking O'Connor.
And Trey Ford maybe doesn't have the accuracy or the arm for a CFL field. Maybe he doesn't, but fans want to see him play, and at some point in Edmonton, he had the number 2 job last year. He got a win last year. Maybe he's like a Dustin Crum where he just
needs a chance.
Yes. And I don't know if they're going to give that to him. And I don't know what they're seeing in practice. And at the same time, is it a situation for him to succeed in? Because you mentioned it earlier, this could ruin Cornelius. Could it ruin the other guys playing quarterback?
Absolutely.
Well, that's tough. that's really, and I just want to see the athleticism of Trey Ford.
Mhm.
At least they need to give it to somebody to run with it, Cornelius or not, and just to see what happens in Edmonton. But it does appear Saskatchewan's given the reins to Mason Fine, and it did work out fine for them the rest of the game.
I made a dad joke yesterday too. It was real bad.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
In this one, because he comes in and I see where I went into the Winnipeg Ottawa game, I knew what the score was. In this one, I didn't. So I'm kind of.
Oh, you went in blind.
I did.
So you were heartbroken at this point.
I did. I was kind of pouting a little bit, and like, what's going on here?
You know.
And I don't pout. I'm not moody at all.
Yeah.
So Trevor Harris gets hurt, and then Shea Patterson has an incomplete pass. He stayed in after short yardage after the injury. Mason Fine completes a pass, but this is 20-17 Stampeders. 2:50 left in the game, I believe. And Brett Lothar, they try the 54-yarder, which is always a danger. It is always a danger. And I don't know, did that display a lack of confidence in the Rider defense? And from what we saw them the rest of the way, maybe that was the smart move, that they wouldn't be able to stop the Jake Mayer aerial attack, which he has had the best game of his season in this game. Misses the 54-yarder, and then Barnes returns it 86 yards to the Rider 24.
And who's in on the tackle? That nails his own player in the head with his helmet? Brett Lothar.
What was that? I am shocked. Was it that play or the kickoff where he didn't get a penalty? He comes in late, and I don't know.
He hit his own guy.
Yeah, I'd have to, I guess, rewatch that.
On that kickoff, I'm like, okay, well, he can get a rouge.
Yeah.
Right? It's been done, and then he kicks it to the 15.
Yeah.
Like, oh, good.
Yeah. So then the Stamps take advantage of that and score a touchdown. And next thing we know, it's 27-17 Stampeders. 5 minutes left to go in the game. But then Mason Fine looks really good. He hits Sean Bain Jr. Well, he missed the play with him. He ended up rushing for 24 yards. And then he ends up hitting Jamal Morrow for another 24. He hits Mitch Picton for 15. Then he hits Jamal Morrow for the touchdown. And there was a bit of a scuffle on that one that resulted in some penalties there. So it's 27-24 Stampeders at that point. And then the Rider defense can't limit the Stampeder offense. That big play, like, I don't know how you leave Reggie Bagleton
of all people
wide open. He gets 39 yards, so that puts them into field goal range. 30-24 Calgary. And then the play. So
it's like our goal in grade 12.
Let me
just the goal.
Let me paint the picture. I spent the day in Calgary.
Do your best Vin Scully here.
So I just crushed a burger, some fries, some beers, some Coke, a foot-long hot dog, some foot-long fries. We end up hitting crumble cookies. And I'm painting myself in a really bad
literally
light.
The last minute for crumble cookies.
They close at midnight. We get in at 11:58. We get the 4-pack of cookies. There's still some left, so I wasn't that far above my daily calorie intake.
Yeah, only like 3,000 calories.
But my sodium, that's another story.
Did you eat like the bun alone on that hot dog would have been 3 days worth of sodium? It was definitely white bread.
I'm pretty thirsty today, brother.
Weird.
So then I get home. It's 1:30. Belts
Please tell me you
undone.
ate more.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
I had a few bites of cookie, but
that doesn't even count.
The belt's undone. Watching this game first because I didn't know the
shirt
score.
on or off.
Actually, off because
Okay, Dell.
because I caused a scene on the midway when we buy these $16 foot-long fries, and I
What'd you
grab
put on
one,
them?
it breaks off, and Taylor's like, "You just wasted like a loony," and everybody's staring at me. I grab the next fry, it breaks off on my shirt, so I got garlic and palm smeared in my beard and my shirt. So yeah, when I get home, shirt off, belt undone, watching the game.
I've seen that movie before at your parents' house.
Mason Fine, it's 3rd and 23. It gets deflected. 69-yard play. Tevin Jones takes it to the house. 48 seconds to go. Riders lead 31-30. I jump up. My shorts are around my ankles because of the undone belt. I almost go head over heels through the coffee table. And this is 3 a.m.
And you're married.
I don't
You're
know
somebody's husband.
I don't know how there wasn't a noise complaint from our neighbors in the condo. But
They just assumed Taylor was killing you and they just let it happen.
probably in a perfect world, Tevin Jones pulls a Willie Jefferson and runs along the goal line and eats the clock, but you got to take the touchdown, right?
Yeah, like you don't even want to drop down at the 1. You don't want to pull a Brian Westbrook. Like you're not in the lead.
Yeah.
You have to score that.
Yeah.
And I even said, like, there's a lot of time left here because Calgary had looked really good and Saskatchewan didn't have an answer for the passing game.
Yeah. They start at the 37. Mayer hits Hakanavanu for 22 yards. He hits Odoms Dukes for another 8 yards, and Rene Paredes hits the 50-yarder as the Stampeders win 33-31.
Without a doubt, like,
yeah,
that would have been good from a lot longer.
What a finish to a roller coaster week 6 in the Canadian Football League, and the players in this game put on a show. Tommy Lee Lewis, making his CFL debut, scores a touchdown for the Stampeders. Thought he scored another one. The unnecessary illegal block shoved from behind where he probably wouldn't even have touched Tommy Lee Lewis.
How many times has that happened, though?
Exactly. Because the dancing he did to score that, I would have been rattled if I was him too.
Like, I know we call wide receivers divas, but sometimes they gotta lose their
26 of 37 for Jake Mayer, 315 yards. There was the one interception. Probably not the best decision to throw that ball, although the defender that had the best shot at it is not the one that intercepted that ball.
Yeah.
But he had 2 touchdowns, and that was the thing. The Riders, Hakanavanu comes in, 5 catches, 94 yards. He had a 48-yard play here. Bagleton had 92 yards himself. Mark and Michelle, 4 for 33. Clark Barnes, 5 for 34. Big in the return game. Odoms Dukes, 5 for 32 here. I feel like Stamps fans feeling a lot better about their team after watching this one, because a lot of times, even I talked about Willie Jefferson being fast off the line. Pete Robertson had a play in this one where it was like he rocketed off the line.
How he wasn't offside, like how quick he was. Like, there's no way he's not offside. There's no way.
Yeah, yeah. And let's face it, the Rider offense, through 3.5 quarters, Trevor Harris had 115 yards. Mason Fine on 6 completions at 116 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the miracle touchdown.
More than doubled Harris's fantasy output.
Yeah, that's insane. Tevin Jones, 84 yards, a touchdown. Sean Bain slowing down. They didn't get him going until about the 4th, it looked like. 3 for 23. But Jamal Morrow, 63 yards in the receiving game. And Kendall Watson had 43 yards in the receiving game as well. And that I mean, that second return from Mario Alford, Frankie Hickson was already celebrating that one with him down the field. That was
So we didn't have audio at the bar because the UFC was on.
Yeah.
Did somebody win or no? Is it got to be 2 kickoff returns or is it just 2 kick returns?
Oh, it's got to be kickoffs.
Oh, that's dumb.
Yeah. Nobody won the $1 million.
Got gypped. That's worse. That is worse than the penalty that took the one away a couple years ago.
Oh, I know. Nick Marshall, I thought he played a good game. He didn't really get burned, and the big hit he laid. This was just a fun darn game to watch, and when these two teams play later in the year.
But like, remember when Calgary would worry us?
Yeah,
like we could win this game, we could also lose by 3 scores.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, they're kind of on the same level now. I mean,
it was like if Saskatchewan wins, it's like barely. But if
Calgary wins, they're covering the entire season series.
Yeah,
in one game.
Julian Hauser, 2 sacks in this one. Mike Rose had 2 sacks. James Vaughters, 2 sacks.
Alway with like 100 tackles, probably.
Yeah, he had, I guess, 10. One was on special teams, but he was all over the place. Yeah, Cam Judge had a sack in this one as well. The leading tackler for the Riders was actually Pete Robertson. The 1 sack there as well. And I guess a shout out to Dedrick Mills for the Stampeders. They didn't get him too involved. The Riders limited him a little bit here. He only had 36 yards and 11 carries. He did have the touchdown there. Jamal Morrow, 9 for 37. So the running backs didn't really have big games at Mosaic.
Not in the running game, but Morrow ended up at 24 fantasy points.
Because of his receiving.
He had 8 catches. So he had 14.3 points 20.3 points just receiving.
Wow.
Right? Because it's 63 yards, there's your 6.3. Yeah. 8 catches is 14.3. And 6 points for the touchdown.
Wow. What a fun game with these two teams. And what a fun week 6, just when we thought everything sucked.
Well, it was my first week back at work. It's not like it was all good.
Yeah, it's not like it was all good. Next week, we have Edmonton in Winnipeg, Toronto in Hamilton, Saskatchewan in BC, Ottawa in Calgary. That's week 7 in the CFL. Ty, fantasy leaders as it stands right now, which could change in 48 to 72 hours or maybe even 10 minutes from now.
Yeah, well, I did stats at 1 in the morning, so
yeah, that's all right.
I had to scramble this afternoon because I didn't hit save at one point.
Yeah.
So quarterbacks: Chad Kelly, Dustin Crum, Cody Fajardo, Kalaros, and Mayer. Mason Fine was the 6th best. Like, he was better than Jarrett Dagey and Taylor Cornelius, which, I mean, Edmonton didn't have that great of a passing attack.
Yeah.
After a while, like they put up numbers, but I mean, just the way the time got split up.
Yep.
Between those 2 quarterbacks, they didn't really get a lot. Butler, Morrow, Kevin Brown, Brady Oliveira, and William Stanback round out the top 5. Butler and Morrow. Butler had 25.7. Morrow had 24.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you could find a way to get those guys in, which at the price they were at, would be tough. Sneed 25.8, Unger 23.2, Bahar 22.7.
You could have had those 3 guys.
Yeah, 100%. Luther at 20.4, Kyron Moore 20.1, Dembski at 19.3.
Wow. So Dembski's probably the most expensive guy on that list. And what was he? Number 5?
Number 6.
Number 6.
And then it was Stephen Dunbar Jr., Tevin Jones at 17.4, DeMonte Coxey at 17.2, Wolatarski at 17.
Sometimes spending all that money, it does nothing.
Tell me about it.
Put it that way.
I'm aware.
Congratulations to Andrew of the Turf District. He got the win in the CFL Podcast Fantasy League this week.
Seems to be all Edmonton can win right now.
I think he himself, he's had a pretty rough start, but he's turning it around. I'm the opposite. Started well and just completely falling apart. You can
Weird.
rate, review, and subscribe to 2 and Out on your favorite podcatcher. You can like and comment on YouTube as well. A shout out to our patrons, Dwayne Burke, Nick Jordan, Kirsten Haggerty, Chris Harold, for showing up and getting early access to these shows. You'll get them earlier than anyone. Patreon.com/2andout CFL podcast.
Still no Janet's Deans, hey?
No, your mom's not on there, man.
Just hoarding all of her money. I'm not going to see a dime.
I will talk to you later this week to get you ready for week 7. Brazilian Ty will be back next week to recap what we hope is going to be another great week of CFL football.
I have to go to work on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
We played a game of chicken. Well, yeah, we played a game of chicken and you quit first.
Oh, yeah. We were recording. But now I usually stay up till about 6. So.
And what are we doing? And I have Starlink. I'm getting like 78 megabytes per second in the work truck.
Don't you like watch Netflix in the work truck?
No.
Can't you record a show?
I do work.
Yes, if your bosses are listening, Ty is the hardest working man that you employ.
Oh, some days I'm hard at work.
We'll talk to you next week. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll have something for you on 2 and Out.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.